Let me get rid of that. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you all. Hello, Louise. Hello, Lou. Hello, Anita and Rajvi and Lourdes. So nice to see you all. I am so sorry that my reminder message only went out about 6 minutes ago. It's just hasn't been my day today. I'm not as organised as I like to be. So apologies for that. You've done all very well to actually be here. As you'll see as well on your screen, we've got a new face here tonight, which is the lovely Jane Doyle. And she is the physiotherapist who is going to take us through all things exercise and physical activity. Before Jane launches into that, though, I would love to know how your fortnight has been, whether there's any positive, negative, neutral, anything at all that has sort of happened or that have food or physical activity or anything like that. Louise, have you got anything to report back or comment on?
I had a good fortnight. I'm now pushing for 15,000 steps. I'm trying to shift all this baby weight. It's just taking forever.
Yeah, it does.
So that's good. And I bought just a cheap treadmill on the weekend just to have at home. My husband's gone back to work, so I've been very fortunate when he was home working and when the kids were sleeping, I would duck out and exercise. So I thought if I want to keep up with it, I need to come up with an alternative. So
good on you.
So I feel probably a year ago I would never have done this. So
yeah.
good,
that's
good
amazing.
So a positive fortnight.
Yes, and I love that you had a problem, but you came up with a solution, you know, in terms of like you were able to sort of think how, rather than just not doing any exercise, how can I make it even easier for myself to do something?
Exactly.
So, yeah, great, Louise. That's fantastic. Good on you. What about you, Lou? How has your fortnight been?
Katie, food-wise, it's been another really good fortnight. So I feel as if I'm really moving into a really strong, positive new habit.
Fantastic.
I don't feel particularly hungry. Any times, good routines at work and everything, which I think have been critical. So it's well structured and everything like that. So really happy. Coming home, I'm fine at night. I'm just trying to get my wife's approval. She's giving me the thumbs up, so that's always a good sign.
Oh, good.
So, I mean, all that part's working well. I'm glad tonight is physical activity because I'm, timing wise, I'm just finding it really hard to get a lot of meaningful exercise into present.
Yeah.
Just because during the week it's, leaving early, arriving back late and everything. So just some strategies. I like the idea of a treadmill. We're just currently living in a place where literally if there's a treadmill in here, we'd have to move out like one of the two of the kids to make it fit. So I may have to look for like another strategy for that. But other than that, no, it's going well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's so good. And look, and generally speaking, food and activity, they do need to go in an order. It's very hard to do everything at once. Yeah. So I think that's fantastic. If you really can knuckle down and get that food sorted, then eventually the physical activity will also flow on as well. So yeah, it will. You're determined and you're doing it, Lou. So that's fantastic. Good on you. Rajvi, can you hear me? Maybe not. I'll come back to her. Anita, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Same here. My fortnight wasn't very good because I was in Queensland when we had the last session attending a wedding.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
So I was off gym for 2 weeks and, when go for the wedding and all the eating was out of proportion.
Yeah.
So back to Melbourne now and back to my gym routine and homemade food.
Yeah, great.
Back to routine now.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and there's no issue with that because that is life, because I mean, of course, we do have periods of time where we are on holidays and we are out of routine and we're not in our own home and we're not going to our own gym and things, and those things are going to keep coming up. The most important thing is that once you are back into your natural habitat as such, that you do continue back into your old routine again, that the things that make you feel good. So that's life. And no way would I ever want you to go to a wedding and be consumed by, should I be eating this? Should I not be eating this? I need to go and have a run. No, you need to just be there and enjoy the wedding and have a wonderful time. So that's fantastic. I'm glad that you had a great time, and now you're back and ready to do some hard work again. So yeah, that's good. Excellent, Anita. What about you, Lourdes? How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good.
Well, I went beyond my goal of walking for 30 minutes at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So I tried to walk as much as possible every day.
Yeah.
But I had a problem, like on my left hip and thigh, I had pain, and whenever I walk, it causes pain. So anyway, I told my daughter, who is into health and fitness as well, he taught me some stretches, and it helped. It's not perfect yet, but it helped. So I just kept on walking. And then on the weekend, I even walked more than an hour with her. So it's quite good.
Fantastic.
And I just continue the stretches every day.
Yeah.
Just so it will help me maintain my physical activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on you. That's fantastic. And obviously Jane is the physio, not me, but that sounds like good, sensible advice, Jane, possibly. But that's great that it's also freed you up and you can actually walk and be pain-free. I mean, goodness, that's the most important thing. So that's fantastic, Lourdes. You're doing a lot of hard work. So you guys have done an amazing, amazing job. So that's fantastic. Now you've just got to keep it up forever and ever and ever. Okay, that's all. Alrighty, I'm going to make the lovely Jane the host, so then she will take over. I'll silence myself. There you go, Jane.
Lovely. Thank you, Katie. Okay, I will pop my presentation up, share it with you all. Before I start, I'm just going to make sure you'll be able to hear the audio that I've got in here. Okay, hopefully that should all work. Get that going. Fantastic. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Jane. I'm a physiotherapist. I'm here tonight to talk about physical activity and hopefully give you some good ideas about maybe what you could start incorporating into your routine that you're not already doing. It sounds like you're all doing a really great job already, and I'm really impressed with what I've already heard. So you might find that what I talk about tonight you're already doing, and that's fantastic, but hopefully there'll be something in here that you might find that gives you a bit of a different idea or something that you weren't sure of. So if you've got any questions at all tonight, feel free to jump in along the way. We'll also have an opportunity at the end to ask questions as well. So we'll get stuck into it. So as we've spoken about, tonight's session is looking at the benefits of physical activity. And even if you are being active, like most of you have said tonight, there might be something new, or if you're only just starting out, it's a great way to sort of just dip your toe in the water and then gradually build from there. And looking at predominantly seeing how we can make physical activity part of our day-to-day life and making it a habit rather than a chore. And then if you can make it a habit, then you're more likely to succeed in doing it more regularly. So we're going to also look at trying to reduce the amount of time that we're sitting. So this is something that we don't probably think about too much, but there's a lot of evidence and research out there suggesting that the more that we sit, it has really significant impacts on our health. So looking at how we can get more mobile, more active, and reduce the amount of time that we're sitting. We're also going to touch on what could possibly be some barriers to you engaging in physical activity. And once you can work out what those barriers are, then you can look at how to overcome them. And we'll also look at some ideas for setting physical activity goals. So I think with Katie, you've already sort of looked at some goal setting around eating and how you can improve your eating. So we're going to do the same thing with physical activity tonight. Before we get stuck into the presentation, I just want to read out a few statistics for you that you might find interesting. So we know that 80% of type 2 diabetes is preventable through lifestyle changes. We know that children with at least one inactive parent are 68% more likely to be inactive themselves. And we know that 76% of Australian adults don't do enough strength training. So there's a lot of focus on cardiovascular exercise and getting out there and walking and doing that sort of thing. But an area that isn't touched on often is strength training and the importance of it. So we'll go through that tonight as well and look at ways that you can incorporate that into your day-to-day life too. So hopefully with tonight's presentation, you'll take away some ideas that will help decrease the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease and stroke. So these healthy eating goals you will have already covered with Katie in your first couple of sessions. So just reiterating those and what you're aiming to achieve out of doing the LIFE program. So you're looking at decreasing the amount of fat that you're eating. You're looking at decreasing the amount of saturated or trans fat that you eat. You're looking at increasing the amount of fiber that you eat and decreasing the amount of sodium or salt that you are consuming. And then the things that I'm going to be touching on tonight, so around the physical activity goal, looking at increasing the amount of physical activity you do. So we want to aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate physical activity, something like walking per day. And I think the key word to take out of that sentence there is the moderate. So we're going to look at the intensity of that physical activity you do and why that's important and how to know what intensity we're working at. And also looking at weight loss goals. So you might be working towards decreasing your weight as well. Okay, so being active, even if you're just starting out, it helps to reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. It also helps to prevent heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, and some forms of cancer. And strength training particularly helps to build and maintain healthy bones, muscles, joints, and decreases the risk of injury. And another area that is really important that we often don't think about physical activity is promoting psychosocial well-being. So, you know, thinking about when we do activity, physical activity, it helps to release our happy hormones, so our endorphins. And just getting out in the fresh air can really help to, you know, sometimes clear your mind if you're in a really bad mood and you think, oh, I just need to get out. Going for a walk or doing some activity can help blow off a bit of steam and just improve your overall well-being. So it's not just those the traditional things that we think of, you know, losing weight and that sort of thing, but the mental health benefits of physical activity are just as important. Okay, so the benefits of physical activity, you can see here, you know, things that are probably pretty obvious to you, that by participating in physical activity, the long-term benefits of it are decreasing the risk of obesity, decreasing your waist circumference, decreasing your insulin resistance, decreasing your blood pressure, and decreasing your serum triglycerides. So these are things that you've already sort of touched on with Katie and looking at the healthy eating side of things. And as Katie's mentioned before, that physical activity and healthy eating in combination are really important to help decrease these risk factors for your type 2 diabetes, stroke and heart disease. So that's why we have this physical activity session. It's about looking at, you know, trying to work out that we're doing both in combination will have the main impacts and the main benefit for your overall health. A positive side of participating in physical activity is that it helps to increase your HDL cholesterol. So that's your good cholesterol. So it's really important that we try and decrease the LDL, the bad cholesterol, but we want to increase the good cholesterol. Okay. I want to go to the next slide. There we go. Okay, so the physical activity guidelines as set out by the the National Physical Activity and Sedentary Behaviour Guidelines. So it's saying that we should be doing any physical activity is better than doing nothing at all. So that's pretty obvious that getting up and going for a walk and doing something is better than nothing. But what we're looking at, the ideal level of exercise to be doing is your 2.5 to 5 hours of moderate intensity, or your 1.25 to 2.5 hours of vigorous intensity physical activity each week. So they would like you to be active on most days, if not all. But again, I think like Katie was saying, it's okay to get out of routine. Don't beat yourself up that, oh God, I haven't gone for a walk today. I've ruined everything. It's really important just to put that aside. Tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to start again fresh the next day. It doesn't matter if you miss a day here or there. And like I said before, putting some muscle strengthening activities into your exercise regime is really important, and looking at doing that at least 2 days each week. So when we're doing our cardiovascular exercise, so our walking, sometimes it can be really hard to reach those guidelines of 30 minutes per day that they recommend. A way to get around that and make it more achievable for yourself is looking at breaking that 30 minutes up. So if you don't have a full 30 minutes to give to a walk, say, all right, well, maybe I'll go for a 15-minute walk during my lunch break. And then at the end of the day, I've only got another 15 minutes to do. Or, while the kids are having a sleep, I can quickly get a 15-minute walk in. Then I can get a bit of housework done, and then the kids might be awake, and then I've only got another 15 minutes to fit in later on that day. So if you're able to do a full 30 minutes or longer, that's brilliant. But again, don't feel like you need to do it in one big chunk. You can break it up. You could do 3 10-minute blocks a day, or you could do 2 15-minute blocks, 2 20-minute blocks. Whatever works into your lifestyle is the key to being successful with creating a good habit with exercise. So looking at our sedentary behaviour, we want to minimise the amount of time we spend in prolonged sitting. So if you're sitting for more than an hour without getting up and having a movement break, that's a bit long. The recommendation is if you're sitting for 60 minutes, you need to then get up and have a bit of a break. So just a couple of minutes. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes of walking around. If you're in an office job, it can good to say, right, after an hour I'm going to get up and go and get a glass of water, or I need to go and get something from the photocopier, so I'll go off and do that, or go to the bathroom. Something just to break up your chunks of sitting is really good for your health. So making sure that don't spend a 4-hour block sitting down. Just trying to break that up throughout the day is really important for your overall health. So, like I said before, intensity is the key word that we really want to take out of this. So you might not have even thought about this. You go for a walk and you enjoy getting out in the fresh air. But when we're looking at intensity, that is how hard that our body is working during the physical activity. So it's broken up into 3 levels: low intensity, moderate, and vigorous intensity. The way to be able to tell how hard you're working is by doing what we call the talk test. So if you are working at a low intensity, that means that when you're doing exercise, you can easily talk and sing, you're breathing normally. So that might be like your window shopping or doing your grocery shopping. Yes, you're walking around and you're doing activity, but you're not really pushing your body very hard. Moderate intensity, which is what we're aiming to be working at, is you can talk, but you can't sing. So if you were going for a walk with a friend, you could still have a conversation, but you would be starting to notice you'd be getting a little bit breathless. You'd be starting to puff a little bit, but you wouldn't be so puffed that you couldn't maintain a conversation. With vigorous intensity, you can't say more than a few words. So that's quite obvious. You're going for a run, or you're playing a game of basketball or football or something like that. You're really putting a lot of exertion into doing that physical activity. If you want to go to the gym and work yourself at a vigorous intensity, that's fantastic. But by all means, don't feel like that's what you have to do. You do not have to push yourself that hard. You're still going to get all the benefits of doing exercise working at a moderate intensity level. Something I get asked quite frequently is, well, I'm on my feet all day for work. I'm a nurse, or I work in hospitality and I'm always on my feet. Isn't that good exercise? I'm doing lots of physical activity. My response to that is, it's fantastic that you are doing something and you are active and you're not sitting down for a long period. And yes, you are going to get some benefits, but you're not going to get the maximum benefit for your health. You need to be working at that moderate intensity level. So unfortunately, if you are a worker that's on your feet all day, you still need to go out and do some purposeful exercise, working at a bit of a higher intensity level than what you would at work. Okay, so muscle strengthening, again, just reiterating what I've said, really important to get some strength training in. It's also known as resistance training. So this is a physical activity that makes your muscles work against a force. So the Australian guidelines recommend we do muscle strength training at least 2 days each week. Some things that you can use to build your strength can be as simple as using your own body weight. So that could be doing squats or calf raises or lunges. That sort of thing is still considered strength training. If you wanted to make it a little bit more challenging, or if you're going to the gym, that sort of thing, you could use resistance bands or weights. So if you're not familiar with them, I've got a video coming up that will show you a few really simple exercises that you can do using resistance bands. If you're interested in going down that path and using resistance bands, they are really readily available now. You can buy them from Kmart or any of the cheap shops, or Rebel Sport. Those sort of places have them. And they're usually graded into different resistances. So there's lighter ones that won't push you as hard. And then as you build your strength up, you can get heavier resistance bands that are going to work you a bit harder. So if you're just starting out with strength training, definitely start with either no resistance at all or very low resistance, and then gradually build up as you get stronger. And the other one listed there is weight machines. So that would be, if you had a home gym set up or you were going to the gym, you could use some weight machines. But again, don't feel like you have to go out and purchase expensive bits of equipment to do exercise. It can be helpful for some people, and that's a way to keep them motivated, but it's not necessary for most people to engage in physical activity. So there's definitely ways you can still participate with very little or no equipment at all. Okay, so here's our little video. It's from the British Heart Foundation, and she's using resistance bands like I've spoken about, but you could do these exact same exercises with no weights or no resistant bands at all. So you're still going to get some benefits. These are really nice, simple ones that you can do at home. I often say if you can couple an exercise with something that you're doing at home, so you're not really even noticing you're doing exercise. For example, if you're watching a TV show at night, you've got the kids to bed, or you've had dinner after work, you're just sitting down, every ad break that comes on, do an exercise for that ad break. And then before you know it, you've done sort of 30 minutes of exercise without too much, it's not really interrupting your schedule too much. So this goes for about 4 minutes. She gives some really great tips. Yell out if you can't hear it, but I'm hoping the sound should be okay. There's no sound yet.
Hello, my name's Lisa Purcell. I'm the physical activity expert at the British Heart Foundation. I'm here today to take you through some exercises with these stretchy bands called resistance bands. They're relatively easy to get hold of, they're cheap and they're convenient. You can take them anywhere, they can put them in your bag, take it to work, take it away with you and do it in your hotel room, and they're great for different levels of abilities. You can do things standing up and also sitting down. It's recommended that we do strength type activities at least twice a week, and resistance bands are great for strengthening your muscles. They help with your balance and coordination, can help prevent osteoporosis and improve your quality of life. There are different types of resistance bands. This is the simplest one. You can also get resistance bands with handles. These are great for beginners. Things to remember with these types of resistance bands is to get a firm grip on the end of the band. This exercise is called the lateral raise. It works your shoulder muscles. To start with, place the resistance bands under your feet, feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent, tummy tucked in, shoulders rolled back. Have your palms facing in towards your hips, and then slowly raise your hands up to shoulder height, keeping your elbows soft and not locked out, and then slowly lower back down towards your hips. This exercise is called the squat, which is really good for our upper leg muscles and also our bottom muscles. Slowly lower down towards the floor, sticking your bottom out and back, and then come back up to standing, making sure you don't lock your knees out. And then repeat the exercise, lowering down to the floor and back up again. This exercise is called the bicep curl and is good for the muscles at the top of our arms. Slowly raise your palms and twist your arms towards your shoulders, and slowly lower again so that your palms are facing your hips. Breathe out on the effort and in. This exercise is called the tricep press and is great for the muscles at the back of your arms. People like to get rid of those bingo wings, and this is great for that. Start with your arm straight above your head, pointing to the ceiling. You can place your other hand on your elbow to add a little bit of stability. The main point here is to try and keep your elbow as close to your head as possible. And then bend your arm at your elbow to 90 degrees, and then straighten your arm back up to the top. This exercise is called the leg press and is great for the muscles at the top of your legs called your quadriceps. Start by straightening your leg out in front of you and looping the resistance band around the middle of your foot. Soften your knee and then slowly bend your leg up towards your chest and then straighten it out back to the starting position. This exercise is called the calf press and works the muscles on the back of your lower leg. Start by extending your leg out straight in front of you. Remember to keep your knee slightly bent. Begin the exercise by pointing your toe towards the floor and returning it back up towards the ceiling. Remember to keep your knee slightly bent, point your toe towards the floor, and then back up to the ceiling. This exercise is called the chest press and is great for the muscles at the front on your chest. Start with the band behind your back, your elbows bent and level with your body. Remember to keep your back nice and straight and slowly push forwards with your hands so they're in front of your body, and then take it back.
Okay, so if anybody's interested in that particular video or any other resistance exercise video, YouTube is a great resource. It can be quite overwhelming because there are thousands of exercises out there, but it's also good because it gives you a variety of things to choose from. So those exercises may not have been to your liking. That's totally fine. Go on YouTube and type in resistance exercises, and then you can choose something that appeals to you a bit more. So I think we're a bit lucky with technology these days that there's so many options out there that are really quite accessible for us all. And, you know, then it allows you to do it in your own home or in your own time. You don't have to, you know, make it to the gym at a certain time to do that particular class. You know, you can do it at the end of the day when it suits you. You might also have noticed in that video that each exercise, she said, do 8 to 10 repetitions of it. So with strength training, we measure how much of it we're doing by repetitions and sets, rather than cardiovascular exercise. We measure in time blocks. So that's something else to keep in mind, that you don't have to do, you know, a 30-minute block of resistance exercise training. You can just do 10 exercises and repeat that 3 times a day. And that's still very, you know, it's still going to be positively impacting your overall health. Okay, so moving on. So back to talking about the sedentary lifestyle, like I was talking before, and sitting. And researchers found that sitting too much has been linked with problems such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. So this information has been taken from the Heart Foundation of Australia. And it's quite a scary fact that most Australian adults sit for about 9 hours a day, which is a lot. And that doesn't take into account sleeping either. So that can be another, you know, 8 hours or so that we're sedentary. So you can see with that little diagram there how it can be quite easy to be sitting down for quite a long period of time, and looking at working out, reflecting on your own life and how much you do sit, and then thinking about, okay, well, that's quite a lot. How can I break that up? And statistics say that if you sit for 11 hours a day, your risk of early death is 40% higher than someone who sits for less than 8 hours a day. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind as well. We don't really think about sitting down as being a problem. We think about it as giving our body a rest, but we want to make sure that we're not doing too much of it. Barriers to physical activity. This is something that I think is really good to reflect on and identify. And then once you've identified what your barriers are, then you can go about looking how to overcome those. So this list is actually in your workbook. It's on page 70 of your workbook. So I think you should all have a copy of your workbook by now. If you don't, yell out to Katie and she will chase that up for you. But just looking at the list there, in your book, go through and tick whichever ones you think are applicable to you, and then sit down and think about, all right, well, how can we get around that? So like Louise mentioned before, you know, she had a very good opportunity when her husband was at home to get out and do some exercise while the kids were having a sleep, and he was at home working. Now she doesn't have that. She's thought about what the barrier is, and the solution was getting a treadmill. So now that she can do exercise at home. So that's a really positive way of looking at things, and not just giving in and saying, well, I can't do it anymore because the situation has changed, but I'm going to work around it. So I think, you know, looking at that list there, for instance, if you're saying I'm too busy, that's where you could then look at breaking up your exercise, like I mentioned before, in doing 2 15-minute blocks rather than 1 30-minute block. Or if it's something, you know, like the weather's not great, okay, well, maybe instead of going for a walk today, I'm going to do a strength training session today inside, and then tomorrow hopefully the weather's better and I can get out tomorrow. So just thinking about what the problem is, then we can work around a solution to overcome it. Some ideas that you may not have thought of for physical activity. So if we're looking at our moderate intensity, so the 2.5 to 5 hours each week, that's your brisk walk. If you've got an injury, like Lourdes said, you know, she was having a bit of hip pain, maybe you could try some bike riding instead, or doing some swimming, or, you know, if you're more into team sports, team activities, or doing more social activities, look at some tennis or something like that. So thinking about, all right, well, I need to do my moderate intensity exercise. It's not just walking. What else is out there? If you wanted to do vigorous physical activity, so for your 1.25 to 2.5 hours each week, you'll note that if you're working at a higher intensity, the amount of time that you have to do the activity for is actually less. So that works for some people. They think, right, a fast run means I have to do less in my overall week rather than going for a walk. Personal preference, whatever suits you better. But that could be some fast cycling, or your more organised sports, so playing football or playing netball or something like that. Your strength training activities for your 2 sessions a week could be strength exercises, the resistance bands exercises, or even something as simple as carrying your supermarket bags. So yes, they are a weight. It might be that you park a little bit further from the supermarket, and so that you've got to carry those heavy bags a little bit further, or you know, instead of taking as many bags as you carry and doing 1 trip inside, maybe just take 2 bags at a time. So you might have to walk back and forward to the car and lifting those heavy weights for a little bit longer. So thinking about, okay, well, how can I incorporate it into my day-to-day life? Flexibility and balance is something that we haven't touched on just yet, but this is also another really important thing to think about incorporating. So again, like Lordy said, she's had an injury and she started doing some stretches, and it's really improved the pain that she was in. So I think particularly as we get older, our flexibility does diminish, and it's something that's really important to keep on top of. It is something you can definitely get back. So by doing regular stretching, you will certainly increase your flexibility. And flexibility is really important, especially as we age, to help prevent falls and just improve our balance overall. So it's, again, something that we probably don't think and you know, really put a lot of emphasis on in physical activity, but it is a very important thing. So doing some Tai Chi or yoga will help with strength and flexibility, or just doing a really simple stretching program, you know, every day, every second day, is really has positive impacts on your health too. Or even something simple as dancing. So you might find that that's another social outing that you can do, or, you know, you could do it in the privacy of your own home as well. So thinking a little bit outside the square too, and deviating, not, you know, deviating away from the traditional things we think of as just walking for exercise. You need to find something that you enjoy doing, then you're going to continue to do it. So try as many different things as you can and work out what is your favorite one to do. So goal setting, you will have already done some of this with Katie as well around nutrition, but we want to start thinking now about goals for physical activity too. So goal setting is really important because it helps to provide direction and make plans for change. It can also help to build your confidence and keep you motivated as well. And it also increases your commitment to behavior change. So when we're making goals, it's really important to make them SMART goals. So they need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be achievable, they need to be realistic, and they need to have a time frame on them. So ones that you may have already looked at for your nutrition could be, if it was a non-SMART goal, it would read, I will lose weight. But then when we're converting it into a SMART goal, it would read, this month I will make half of my plate salad or vegetables at lunch and dinner. So an example of that for physical activity could be, I will walk for 15 minutes each Saturday for the next month. So we're really looking at breaking it down. And that way, if we start small, then you can increase up from there. If you make it realistic and achievable and you actually achieve it, then you are far more likely to continue on and to continue building goals, rather than making it something that you're never going to achieve, and then you're going to give up. So really break it down, make it something really simple that you're going to achieve, and then build on it from there. Don't go to your biggest goal. You know, maybe you've got a goal of running a half marathon or something. Don't set that as your goal straight out. Break it down into really nice, small, achievable chunks, and make, you know, your goal might be in a year to run that half marathon, but start with sort of month to month and then gradually build up from there. So some ideas for setting your physical activity goals. This again is in your workbook. It is on page 73. So this is a really good activity again, to grab a pen and go through and tick the boxes to the questions there. So that then will give you some direction into, okay, well, where do I need to start my physical activity journey, or how can I improve my physical activity journey from here? So, you know, if you're do you take part in physical activity every day? Yes, no, or sometimes. If you go through that whole list and you're answering yes to everything, you're doing fantastic. You're really on your way. If you answer no or sometimes to some of those questions, maybe that's a great place that you can start to make a change to help improve your physical activity. So, you know, the other questions are, does your physical activity add up to 30 minutes a day? Do you take the stairs instead of the lift or the escalator? Do you park your car far away from where you want to go? Do you walk to the shops instead of driving a car? And does your breathing change when you do physical activity? So those little prompts can be things that you might not have thought of before. You might never have thought about just parking an extra block away from work and having to walk a block to get to the office and then to get back to the car at the end of the day. Those little changes in your lifestyle over the long run can add up to really big, impactful things. So it might be that, you know, you haven't thought about your intensity that you're working at. And that's something that's simple that you can go away from tonight and say, all right, well, I haven't been pushing myself very hard. Now's the time to really start increasing that, and that will pay benefit in the long run. So it's never too late to make changes to these sort of things. And I guess the most challenging part of it is that often you don't see the impact of it straight away. It's more of a long-term gain. So you can be making these small changes now and you won't see the benefit of it for quite some time. But don't get disheartened by that. I think that's it's good to know in yourself that you're starting to make changes to make benefits in the long run. So by doing this activity, you'll look at then working to reach your goal of increasing the amount of physical activity you do to get to that 30 minutes of moderate activity every day. This is an activity that is also in your workbook on page 74 and 75. So going back to the goal setting and thinking about your incidental activity and what you're doing each and every day, and how can you ensure that you know, you're doing exercise every day. So looking at writing things down, being as specific as you can. So with your food diary that Katie will get you to do, you really want to be specific about, you know, you've eaten 1 cup of cornflakes with half a cup of full cream milk. So when you're doing your physical activity diary, you want to be very specific like that as well. So, you know, you might have done the housework for the day. Yes, that is physical activity, but you also need to put in there that you've done some structured physical activity as well. So again, writing down, you know, you've been for a 15-minute walk at a moderate intensity twice today, or, you know, you've done 2 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions of resistance training for my upper limb and my lower limb. So really thinking about putting in as much detail as you can, so then you can reflect on that, and, you know, when you go back to it another time and say, all right, well, this is how much I started at, this is what I'm ending at, seeing your improvement along the way. And then that really gets you, keeps you motivated to continue on. Or vice versa, you might have started off really strong and then you gradually sort of peter off, and you can go, all right, well, I was doing more than this and I was successful at it. I know I can get back to doing that. So just making sure that when you're doing your goals in your activity diary, that you're really specific. So looking at wrapping up tonight's session. So the key things that I want you to take out of tonight are looking at planning to reach your physical activity goals to make it more likely that you'll succeed. So doing those SMART goals, making it achievable. That's really, really important. You don't have to be young, healthy, and fit to be physically active. So hopefully tonight there's been some, good ideas that you might have thought of that you might not have thought of before that you can start incorporating. Everybody benefits from doing some physical activity. So if you have done zero activity before tonight, now's a great time to start. If you're already really quite active, great time to maybe try something new or add in some other things as well. And incorporating your physical activity into your everyday lifestyle can be achieved with small changes. So like some of the suggestions before, parking a bit further away from the shops or further away from work, or, getting that walk in incidentally can really make it far easier to then achieve your overall goals. A little bit of homework for you to do for Katie for the next session. So saving up your shopping lists and your dockets or any restaurant menus that you've got, bring them along to her next session. And if there's anything tonight that you want to look into further, or you thought that was interesting, I'd like to know more, there's some extra reading that you can do there, some Heart Foundation resources. That's also in your workbook for you to go back and look at too. So page 80 onwards, it's got those resources as well. And some ideas that you might not have thought of that you might interest you to help increase your physical activity. These aren't just Shepparton specific, they're all run in Shepparton, but if you're not from Shepparton, they're in various suburbs in Melbourne too. So parkrun's a really great one that is very inclusive for anybody of any activity level. It's run each Saturday morning, and it's a 5-kilometre circuit. You can walk it, you can run it, you can skip it, you can do whatever you like along it. It's your only timed against yourself. So it's, again, a nice thing if you want to sort of track your progress. You can see what time you did the week before and then compare it for the following weeks. But definitely it's a nice social thing too. So if you like to walk with somebody or exercise with somebody, that's definitely a nice one to do. There's another great program out there called Live Life, Get Active, and this is totally free, as is Parkrun. So it's run in Shepparton, it's run 4 nights a week, and it's one night a week is Tai Chi, and the other 3 are more of a cross-training, strength-based program. All the sessions are run by a qualified instructor. So if you're in Shepparton, it's run at the Queen's Gardens, and it's very easy to register online. So there's the website. Katie will send out these website links to you as well after tonight's session, so you can refer back to them if you want to. The Heart Foundation website also has a list of a number of walking groups that you can join. Again, nice social one if you're into that sort of thing, and free. It also has an online 6-week walking program that you can just sign up to, and it sends you out a weekly email just sort of giving you some new exercise ideas. So that can be something that if you're getting started, it can sort of just hold your hand for a little bit for the first 6 weeks, give you some really great ideas and strategies to then continue on with after the 6 weeks is up. Or if you're that way inclined, going to a gym or seeing a personal trainer as well. What I would suggest, if you are going to the gym, if you're new to it and you're not sure on what all the equipment is, find one of the gym instructors and get them to give you a tour of the gym and run you through how to use all the machines. The last thing you want when you're just starting out is to do an injury, and then that's going to set you back and sort of put you off going into physical activity again. So if you want to go to the gym, make sure you sort of book in with one of the gym instructors and get a bit of a tour and a rundown on all the equipment. So the next session with Katie is Tuesday the 15th of March. And that's all from me tonight. Does anybody have any questions for me? Stop sharing. There we go.
So we can just focus on moderate for my age, for example, because I have two knees totally replaced, so I cannot walk very fast.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just moderate for me.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you're aiming towards. But look, as I've said, if you can't push yourself that hard to really puff yourself out, anything you're doing is going to have some sort of impact. So that's fine.
Thank you for all your information. Now, I was just thinking, I have some bands here, the stretch bands that I can use. And I have not used them for quite a while. Now, I'm reminded to go back to them. I have the green one and the red one.
Very good. Whatever.
So tonight, maybe I'll start with the red.
Fantastic.
The lighter one.
Yes, very good.
And I thought I could actually vary my exercises because I also like dancing.
Yep.
So, but just following the YouTube maybe could help as well.
That's right. Yes, YouTube is a great resource.
Oh, good on you, Lourdes. That's great. Lots of ideas there that you can start to incorporate. Does anyone else have any questions or comments before I let you all go for tonight? Yes, as Jane said, we'll be catching up for session 4 in 2 weeks' time. So that session will be, it's a bit of a mixed bag session 4. It's about sort of sleep and stress, mindfulness, portion control. We sort of touch on a few sort of different topics. I'm hoping to have a woman join us who is very, very experienced in meditation. So just something that's really, really important in terms of when it comes to sort of mindfulness and stress management and things. So I'm meeting with her tomorrow to see if she can join us for session 4. So hopefully she will be there, which would be really great. But yes, once we've done session 4, then we have a gap. So then we don't meet again until the 6-month mark for session 5. And then again, we don't meet until the 12-month mark for session 6. So we're sort of very quickly getting through these 4 sessions. It goes fast. So session 4 will be our last sort of one for the foreseeable future as such, and then we'll get together at the 6-month mark. But yes, as Jane said, I will send out the recording and those slides. So then if you do want to refer back to anything, you can. And other than that, I'll see you all again in 2 weeks' time. So thank you so much, Jane. I need to practice my flexibility.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Have a fantastic fortnight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.